Hi, my name is Mazel Fabu, and this is my story. Hey, so my name is Mazel, but everybody calls me Zoo. My parents are from Nigeria, so I'm a first-generation American. And my parents did a very good job of trying to instill our culture in us so that we wouldn't be what they called Americanized. And that was very easy to happen because, I grew up in Los Angeles, California. Los Angeles, California, Los Angeles County itself, Watts is where I grew up on 92nd Street in Hoover, was a very, very rough place. I mean, it was really bad. I was exposed to a lot of gang violence, a lot of, drugs and alcohol, and some of it actually creeped into, our house. I started joining gangs, I started smoking, I started drinking, I started engaging in very, very deviant behavior. I was kicked out of middle school and kicked out of high school, and my parents kind of said, you know what, well, enough is enough. And so they sent me back to Nigeria. They sent me to a boot camp school in Nigeria, and that by far was the hardest thing I've ever experienced in my life. The school was very, very difficult. It was difficult to adapt. My whole time living in America, I was constantly seen as different because my name was, super long or, things like that. Whenever we'd have a substitute teacher, I would be like, oh my gosh, because now she has to learn my name all over again. And I thought the bright side of going to Nigeria was that, I wouldn't feel like, like I was some kind of outcast because my name would be just as regular as everyone else's name. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case either. Although my name was, just about as regular as everyone else's name, I talked different, my accent was different, my mannerism was different, my way of life was different. So they still saw me as what they called me, Americana. So basically, I didn't know who I was. I didn't know who to identify myself with, because in America, I was seen as a foreigner because I was Nigerian, and in Nigeria, I was seen as a foreigner because I was American. And it was tough to kind of choose, not even choose an identity, but realize what was actually mine. So I struggled with that for a little while. And in addition to that, the school being the brutal school that it was didn't make any of that easier. There was about 200 people in about a room, not much bigger than this, and we had 100 bunk beds. And we would have to wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning. And if you weren't out that room by 6 o'clock in the morning, they would take what they called a koboko, and it's a cane. It's plucked from a tree. And they would whip you awake, and they'd whip you while you were putting your clothes on, and they'd whip you all the way out the door. It was a very, very painful experience just because, in the school system in Nigeria, you're designed to graduate at 16 years old. But in America, you're designed to graduate at 18 years old. And because the school system is set up that way, the people who were older than me that had the quote-unquote right to hit me, they were older than me by class, but not by grade. So at the time I was 16, and somebody who's 14 years old is flogging me with the cane like he's my father, just because he's in a higher grade than I am. So to accept those kind of things was extremely difficult. And that wasn't even the worst of it. The worst definitely had to be the witchcraft and the voodoo that went on at school, because it was just, some kids were just considered untouchable in the sense that you just couldn't mess with them just because they had, all kinds of powers. So basically, I had no choice. It was everyone in that school had some kind of spiritual backing. Because if you didn't have some kind of spiritual backing or someone that you went to for, all things spiritual, then you were subject to any kind of violence, you were subject to any kind of abuse, you were subject to any kind of witchcraft, voodoo, because there was nothing or no one to protect you from it. And my father and mother back home in California, my father's a deacon in the church. My mother teaches Sunday school, so I know enough about God to know that, okay, if I'm going to choose anything, I should choose God. So I joined the church, and I guess the way I understood the Bible and the way I had a relationship with the other kids there was, it kind of stood out to the minister there, and I started teaching the kids there, and the kids got older and I got older, and I've been a youth minister for about 3.5, going on 4 years now. And I took that from Nigeria, and I brought it, back to America when I came back to go to St. John's University. My name is Mazel Fabu, and that was my story.